Welcome back to the Rodecast, guys. Hope y'all doing well out there. I'm your host, Rod, as always. And in this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most ridiculous videos that I've seen from local news trying to simp for illegals who are living in their area. Specifically, this is a local station from Georgia. Let's see what these ridiculous news people have to say.
Well, announced today by the acting director for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents can now start arresting anyone in the country illegally. Immigration advocates and experts are already weighing in on the impacts it could have to Georgians. Atlanta News First reporter Alani Latang is live in Midtown tonight. And Alani, this really has to be frightening for a lot of our neighbors.
So this is one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard a news reporter say, which is that it's only now that ICE is able to arrest anybody here illegally. I don't know if you caught the clue, but since the beginning of Trump's administration, Tom Homan has been saying anybody here illegally will be arrested because they're breaking the law, and we'll go over the law in a second. But they're going to focus on the violent criminals. Okay, but right now, let's be honest, they're doing both. They're going after the violent criminals, but they're also arresting others. So this woman, you can see the bias. Like, this is the bias I'm talking about. She just said this must be frightening for our neighbors. First of all, that means she's living among illegals. So I should go to wherever this woman lives and start investigating, find illegals, find probable cause, and then raid those houses and arrest those illegals, because clearly this one is living with illegals. That's why she said this must be frightening for our neighbors. That means that she knows illegals in her neighborhood. And look at the assumptions built into that. She assumes that these disgusting criminals who broke into our country have a right to live here, and that ICE is the bad guy for going after them. This is how you turn the law on itself and care for the criminals instead of the police. Okay, ICE is following federal law. Now let's get to the law. So 8 U.S. Code 1325 addresses the federal violation of breaking into our country. It's punishable by civil fines as well as imprisonment, which means it is a crime. Now, it's true that this is mostly punished as a civil offense. Why is that, you might ask? Why is it not punished under criminal law? Well, that's because we don't want to give these people trials. Okay, that's why these criminals who break into our country, we call them that because it is a crime to break into some place like a B&E. But if we categorize it technically as a crime, then we have to give them trials. Okay, but if you categorize it as a civil penalty and a civil offense, as we do most of the time with these immigration violations, then we are able to get these people out of here with just an immigration court hearing. Okay, Article 2 courts, not Article 3 courts. Article 3 courts are federal courts. Article 2 courts are immigration courts that are run by the Justice Department. Okay, you get a hearing from an immigration judge, and 90% of the time, they're denied their right to stay here, their asylum claim or whatever they say, and they're out of here. Okay, if we categorize this technically as a criminal offense, then it will take literally years for these illegals to be shipped out of here. Okay, that's why we don't categorize it as a criminal offense. For all the liberals who think they have an argument against us by saying, oh, well, it's not a crime to cross the border. Actually, it is a crime. But it's a federal violation punishable by prison time. So yeah, it is a crime. We just don't technically categorize it that way because we're smart and we want to get these people out of our country ASAP. That's an explanation of the law. So hope you guys understand. Now let's get back to Mrs. Biased over here.
ICE agents can now start arresting anyone in the country illegally. Immigration advocates and experts are already weighing in on the impacts it could have to Georgians. Atlanta News First reporter Alani Latang is live in Midtown tonight. And Alani, this really has to be frightening for a lot of our neighbors.
Neighbors, families that experts say will be torn apart, but also
good, tear them apart. If they're here illegally, I want them torn apart. I support that 110%. 110%. Tear them apart. Keep them together. Don't care. Just get them out, get them out, get them out.
Businesses for hiring unauthorized workers. Experts say we could see a cut in our food supply and the prices of that could go up. And experts say Americans are probably already taking note of that.
Who cares? I don't care. I don't care if prices go up. It's no price is high enough to get these disgusting filth out of this country. Okay, get the illegal criminals out of here. I don't care how much it affects us, and it's not going to affect us that much. This is all fear mongering to keep this. Is what they use. They always use capitalism to get the open borders agenda done. Oh, your food prices will go up if we don't have these disgusting illegals here. Okay, so this is what they use to scare people. I don't even care if it's actually true that prices will go up. Let it go up. I'm willing to pay anything to get these people out.
I think Americans are going to get very upset very quickly about this.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement will be cracking down even harder. In a new directive, the acting director for ICE says his agency will now arrest anyone here undocumented, regardless of a criminal history, plus going after businesses hiring unauthorized workers. What does this mean, this new directive?
It means they've been lying for the last 6 months and are finally admitting the lie.
Lying about what exactly?
Lying about who they're arresting. Lying about only going after criminals or really terrible people.
Immigration.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I wanted them to stop saying, oh, we're just going after the worst of the worst. The reason they were saying that is because, like, there's a section of Americans who only want to arrest, like, hardened criminals. They don't want people who, as they would say, just broke into our country, okay, just violated our immigration laws and didn't commit other crimes. I have always been saying, I don't care what other crimes they committed. Breaking into George Washington's land, invading our borders, and infesting our country is already bad enough. I don't care if they, on top of that, didn't commit other crimes. This is an insane standard that they set for themselves. Okay. And these Americans who support illegals being here, if they didn't commit other crimes, I want to meet these people and have a very detailed discussion about why they think they have a right to invade my country that my ancestors have been building since the 1600s. Okay. Where did they get this right to be here? I want to ask these mostly white progressives this question. Why do you think they have a right to invade my house? I want you to answer that. Did they come here in the 1600s and build Plymouth Colony in Jamestown? No? Then they don't have a right to be here.
Attorney Charles Cook says this is already impacting all of America.
Literally families ripped apart. People sent back to countries they haven't been to in 30 years.
That's a sad day for you, bro. Okay, look at this guy, a bleeding heart Englishman. These are the kind of people who destroyed this country. Okay, they feel so bad for these third worlders. They want to let them invade our country and stay forever. I don't care what's ripped apart. Rip them all apart. I support all of it. They committed the crime of coming here. All the other repercussions are their problem. That's not my problem. And you can call it cruel all you want. Don't care. Why? I want them out of my house, out of George Washington and John Adams' house. This is not their house. They have their own countries.
Start arresting all the field workers in South Georgia who are picking Vidalia onions. Guess what we're not going to have next year? Vidalia onions.
That's all right, bro. We don't need Vidalia onions. Okay? I don't need them.
Idea that kids in high school are all of a sudden going to go pick crops in the field or they're going to work in some factory somewhere. That is a pipe dream.
Acting Director for ICE, Todd Lyons, said,
See, he still doesn't understand. I don't care. Okay, I don't care how much costs go up. I don't care what industries collapse. If America can't survive with disgusting illegals, we deserve to die as a country. Let me repeat that. If we can't survive without foreign invaders, we deserve to fail. Okay, so his argument, I'm not buying at all. I don't care what happens. I do not care. And America's going to be just fine because all of his arguments are a bunch of BS. We have plenty of people here who are willing to do the job. Farmers will pay for their jobs to get done if they need it. And people who can't pay, they'll go under. They're going to have to find other lines of work, but we're not going to have illegals here.
As ICE is always prioritizing the worst of the worst, immigrants with criminal records here and internationally.
What's, again, frustrating for me is the fact that we would love to focus on these criminal aliens that are inside a jail facility, right? A local law enforcement agency, state agency already deemed that person a public safety threat and arrested them and they're in detention. I'd much rather focus all of our limited resources on that to take them into custody. But we do have to go out into the community and make those arrests. And that's where you are seeing those increase of if we encounter someone, say, that is here in the country legally, we will take them into custody.
But Cook says for those here illegally but without a criminal record, ICE has no grounds to arrest them. Cook says crossing into the country without documentation is a misdemeanor, punishable by a $500 fine. Overstaying a visa, Cook says, is a federal and civil immigration violation.
ICE's weapon.
That's not true. That is a lie. This idiot doesn't know anything about the law. I just showed you guys that it's punishable by 2 years in prison if you commit any one of the 3 kinds of listed immigration violations, like lying to immigration officers or dodging them completely and just breaking into the country. Okay. It is true that a lot of people get fines, but it's also true that people can go to prison even for a civil violation. So this guy doesn't know anything about immigration law. He's not an expert in immigration law because he just proved that he doesn't know anything about it. He wants to help these illegals so bad. He's either ignorant of the immigration law or he's lying about the immigration law to pretend it's not a big deal that they broke into my country. It is a big deal, bro. And the fact that you don't think it's a big deal is the problem with white people like you who betray your own country for illegals. You're disgusting.
Weaponizing the legal immigration system in this way, in a way that's never been done before, and no one is holding them accountable.
And that's because the president has the executive right by the Constitution, by the Founding Fathers and the Federalist Papers to make sure that our country is safe from these disgusting illegals who have broken into our land. Okay. He doesn't understand or recognize borders. This guy's an open borders person who thinks the entire world should be able to break into America and there should be no repercussions. Look at the way this guy talks. These are the kind of white people that ruined this country by letting this invasion happen. He has no regard for borders. He thinks anybody should be able to just come in and we should just take it. And he's mad that Trump is doing something about it. Disgusting. Disgusting.
Do plan to reach the Trump administration's goal of 1 million deportations this year.
One difference you'll see now is under this administration, we have opened up the whole aperture of the immigration portfolio, meaning that if you're here illegally and ICE goes out and arrests someone that is released from a sanctuary jurisdiction or wanted in their home country, and an ICE officer finds other individuals with them who are in the country illegally, we're going to take them as well.
So they had to announce they were going to do this because it's going to be obvious to everybody they're just picking up any soul they possibly can.
Yeah, it's not any soul, you idiot. It's a bunch of fucking illegals who invaded our country. He just doesn't understand the difference between a legal citizen and an illegal. This guy's an immigration attorney. He doesn't understand the basics about the immigration system. It's hilarious.
Immigration attorneys say for advice for immigrants, it's best to exercise your right to remain silent. They say you're not obligated to answer any questions from an ICE officer, even if you are detained. They also say that immigrants should insist on speaking with a lawyer before answering questions, and finally, to not let anyone inside their home. And
look at how they're trying to help the illegals. Okay, now technically this is public information, so they can say this, but they're going out of their way. This local station is going out of their way to help the illegals because I'm guessing that all of the people who work in this station, they're surrounded, and they're probably illegals who work in this studio where this is being filmed. Okay, where this woman is, there's probably illegals in this building. This is how much they've infested our country and poisoned it to the point where even citizens are trying to protect these illegals because they're everywhere. And Americans are so nice and kind, especially white people, and they just assume, oh, well, I met a Mexican once and he's a nice guy, so let's all let them all in here. That's the kind of dumb thinking that a lot of Americans have, unfortunately. And that's why we have this problem. And that's why they're so resistant, have been in the past so resistant to get these disgusting people out of here who have no right to be in our country. Okay. Finally, we have a president who's actually doing something. I'm surprised by that because I didn't think for a second that Trump would do it. Okay. But he is doing it and he deserves a lot of credit on immigration. As I got to say for this video, thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you're subscribed and I'll see you guys all in my next video. Stay safe out there.